So I'm going to show you first how to thread your punch needle. So we're going to go ahead and put our punch needle on the shortest setting. So as you can see, if you rotate this in, it makes the punch needle longer. We don't want those long hoops for this one, or at least I don't. And so I'm going to move it, make sure it's all the way down to the setting D right here. And then I am using just a piece of wire to thread mine. So to thread our punch needle, we're just taking our wire and sliding it down the top until it comes out the other side like this. And then we're going to put our yarn right through there, just like this. And then pull it back through like that. And then we also need the yarn to go through this little hole here. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. Just stick my wire through and then stick the yarn in, and just like that. So now our punch needle is threaded and we are ready to begin our first stitches. So the first thing that we're going to do is figure out where we want to start. I'm going to start way over here in this corner where this line begins. So that's where I'm going to first place my punch needle, right on the line, just like that. Stick the needle all the way in as far as it'll go. You're going to turn your work over, and then you're going to pull this string onto the other side, just like that. And then you push, go ahead and rotate your work back over, and making sure that you have lots of slack in your yarn. So I'm actually gonna place this down for a second and pull out more slack. So I have plenty of slack. If you don't have slack, the punch needle will not work. The yarn will start popping out from where you have made your holes. So here we go. I have lots of slack. I've already pulled my yarn through to the other side, and we're just gonna start by going right across this line in a nice even pattern. So here we go. My needle on the monk's cloth, I'm just going in again, just like that. And then I'm just gonna rotate like this. And if you notice, the open part of my punch needle where you can see the yarn is always facing the direction that I'm going. Just like that. You don't want to be punching with it turned this way. You want it always facing that direction. And just go all the way down and making that turn and going across just like that. And so now we've completed the first part of our pot, and so what we're going to do is just continue this same pattern, following along what we've already done, making sure that our needle goes nice and close to that the other yarn, and just continuing that line. Make sure that where you're punching is really close to the other yarn so we're not seeing the monk's cloth in between our stitches, and just continue until we have the whole thing filled in. All right, so we are done with this section of our planter. So what we do to end it is we go ahead and stick our needle through, turn our work over again like we did in the beginning, and this time we're gonna pull from inside of our needle to give us a nice little tail. And then we're just going to clip the yarn there, and then we can pull our needle out just like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next section of my pot here. I'm gonna use my dark blue color for that. So I'm gonna show you one more time how to thread your punch needle. So here is our punch needle. We're sticking our wire down through. We are putting our yarn in the little loop, pulling it through just like that. And then we need it through this little hole as well. So I'm doing the exact same thing and pulling it through that way as well. And now we're ready to go again. So just like before, we're gonna start up here in the corner, punching through, turn our work over, pull that yarn through just like that, and then flip it back over and begin the process. Keeping our needle close to the monk's cloth and just sliding over a bit. Get right up close to that gray color. Making the stitches pretty uniform. I'm turning that corner there, and you see how I am pointing the open part of my punch needle towards where I'm going. If you mess up, something that I love about this, I love art and craft, like projects that are easy to fix when you mess up. So I wasn't punching close enough to the edge there, so I was able to just pull it right back out, no big deal. It's like nothing ever happened, and then try again. So I'm done with my pot now. I'm gonna move on to my leaves. This is the really fun part. I'm gonna use 2 different shades of green just to kind of give it a more realistic look. I'm also gonna use a different technique where I start on the outside and do stitches inward all the way up, and then repeat the same thing on the other side. I'm gonna show you exactly how I do that. So I'm gonna start with this first leaf over here. I'm gonna do dark on the underside and then light on the top. Down here at the bottom of this leaf, pull through. And then I'm just gonna start by going slightly in. And as you'll notice, I am turning the needle back and forth. So my needle is open towards where I'm going. Just like that. As I get near the top, my stitches are going to be quite a lot smaller. So just kind of continue that until you get to where would be the lighter side, and then we're going to end it here. So stick the punch needle through and clip off the yarn. And so now we have the underside of that leaf done. I'm going to go in with my light green color on the upper part. All right, so we're done with our first leaf. So we're gonna move on to the next one. And once again, I'm gonna do dark on the bottom and then light on the top just to give it that nice contrast between the two and just make it look more realistic. All right, so now we've finished up with all of the leaves, and the last part is just going to be to add the stems down here. This part's gonna be super, super easy, and I'll walk you through that now. I'm gonna start here at the bottom. We're gonna start with this leaf. I'm gonna have the stem come around like this. I'm just gonna start right down here by the pot, pull my piece through, and then I'm just going to slowly work my way up in a line, all the way to the leaf. And then I'm going to come back and do the same thing right next to what I just did. all the way back down like that. And there's our first stem. And then I'm gonna go ahead and pull it through just like I do on all the others. I'm gonna leave my yarn on there because we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next stems. All right, so now that the punch needle is done on the front, we're gonna turn it over and trim off some of these extra long pieces of yarn. So just to kind of clean it up a little, make sure you don't pull too hard on these because they can unravel the work that you just did. You wanna make sure that you leave a little bit of a tail, but we don't need them this long. So I just like to go in and clean it up a little bit. All right, so I'm happy with the way that